All right. Well, I'll do a quick intro and then we'll dive into it.
Okay.
My name's Derik. I'm the director of marketing with Matia Mobility. And today I get to talk with Kristen, who is actually one of our users of the tech. Let's talk a little bit about you first. Now, you have a lot of titles, roles,
Mhm.
jobs.
Yeah.
Some of them that I have, you're an author, and we'll actually get back to that. I'm an athlete, a wife, and a mom to one of the cutest babies I've ever met because
Oh,
I did actually get to come to Virginia and be there when we delivered the unit. And yeah, that is a pretty cute baby.
People say that. I'm like, they're just saying that. I'm like, they're
No,
not. It's
it's not.
okay. It's beautiful. Anyway.
What other titles or roles do you give yourself?
You said athlete, but I do. So I'm proud of it. I'm excited to get back into it. But I did my 15th and my 16th marathon when I was pregnant with Malachi, my son. And I am excited because I thought yesterday, I was thinking, like, I missed that. And now that he's old enough, I can kind of get back out there again. And I want to do one next year. So marathoner is my passion. I have a comic strip that I put on Instagram and emails through my website. And so I would say illustrator. And now I'm just a stander. I just stand. I just stand and I zoom around.
That's right. Very cool.
A lot of
Yeah.
fun aspects to my life.
Yeah. I actually started Greater Things.
Very good.
I
Nice.
did. I'm a big fan. It's been an interesting experience because I think what hit me the most is what your parents went through, obviously, because that's the easiest thing for me to at least lightly relate to, because I'm a parent as well.
Right.
And my first thought is it wouldn't be something I'd be able to relate to because it's not a situation that I could even imagine,
Yeah.
of
Thank
course,
you.
right? Of what they had to go through. But you have doctor's notes and journal entries, and that completely changed things. It made it surprisingly easy for me to put myself in your parents' shoes going through that. So it actually got a little emotional for me a couple of times. It was kind of crazy. I didn't think that would be possible to get so close to feeling something that, like I said, would be so imaginable to go through. So a fantastic book.
Thank you.
I haven't finished it yet. I am an audiobook person through and through. I am a slow
Okay.
reader.
The interesting, not to like dwell in my book, but I'll talk about it for as
No,
long
go
as
for
we're.
it.
The interesting thing about the journal entries in my book from my dad is that it makes it very real of like, we're just normal people. We're just like normal people going through something that's very crazy and traumatic. So that's kind of the benefit of having him in there. And that's kind of how I live my life. That's my mindset a little too. Because people stigmatize, people in wheelchairs with disabilities and say, like, she's kind of different. I don't know anything about that. But then I could say, like, I'm just a normal person. I'm just like you, except I'm sitting down. And it's like all the stuff that I go through, I'm not like a superhuman. I mean, I have a lot of superhuman qualities, thank God, that have been given and formed in me, but I'm just like a normal person trying to make the best out of a crummy situation. So it's really cool. So having opportunities like to be able to do all the sports and to do all the like some of the traveling that I've done for my rehabilitation and like all the things I have, it's just like this is just such a cool thing that's being bestowed on somebody, a normal person who went through a bad thing, but I'm like making the best of it. Such also is the opportunity to win this tech. It's crazy. It's crazy that I could win it. It's crazy because it's so awesome and it's such like a too good to be true. Just like it's kind of like icing on top of a not so tasty cupcake. That's a good analogy. But like
I like
it's
that.
just so cool to have like something that could make a seemingly crummy situation into something so beautiful. And I'm just a normal person, and that's like trying to make the best of it. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was actually something that caught me early on in the book is the pressure because you got a lot of attention. Obviously, you had a sounds like a very tight knit community, but also some media attention and that pressure that it creates to be perfect.
Mhm.
I found myself when I first started because when I came and delivered that tech, I was with Matia for
Months, right?
no, like weeks. That might have been
Oh,
week 2 for me, and I'm in
okay.
Virginia. But I found myself when I reading through your story and stuff. And part of it is probably as a marketer because that's just who I am. The label that I put on immediately is this is a great story.
Mhm.
Which then reading your book, it kind of dawned on me. How does it feel when people say that? Because it is a great story. It's an inspiring story, but to have one of the most difficult things in your life be labeled as, oh, that's great. That's got to be a strange feeling.
So I'll answer you in two ways. From the point that I'm at now, which I'm like the happiest person you'll ever meet, and like things are so good for me. I'm like, yeah, it is a great story. Let me tell you, like how I like was at my lowest low and how I climbed back up. And it's a great story. And looking back on it, that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I love to tell my story to anyone who will sit still long enough. I guess in the trouble and the struggle of it, it's kind of like, yeah, this is like my life, and maybe it'll be a great story one day, but it just really sucks. Or like, this is just really hard. I'm just trying to get through this. So in hindsight, I would say, you're right. It's a great story. Sit down, like, here's my card and let me tell you about it. So I guess it's all perspective of like, I'm just like positive until like smiling in my deathbed. Like I'm just positive until the end. And that's helped it so much. But I think it's a perspective of like, my faith and my community and my family and all just my life working out. Not saying I'm privileged, but I'm privileged to be able to make my life good despite the struggles. So yeah, I would say definitely. But in the moment, I'm like, I don't care about the story. I don't want to hear that's a great story. I'm just trying to like get through it. But now, yes, I agree.
I got you. All right. For those who don't know yet, tell us a little bit about what you went through.
So when I was 14 years old, I was about a week from turning 15 years old, about a week from starting my sophomore year of high school. I went to Lake Gaston with three of my friends. A guy I had a really big crush on, a girl I knew my whole life, and a guy I just met. And the guy I had a big crush on the last day, drove a jet ski running into me and Mark, the driver, into and on top of. So it hit me on the left side of my head for a traumatic brain injury and my mid torso for a spinal cord injury, complete, which means no feeling and no movement below my rib bones that stick out in your torso. And Mark, my driver, fell forward and died on impact. And they said that I was not far behind him. I had something wrong with almost every important organ in my body. I couldn't do all this stuff. I was on, like, I had a traumatic brain injury, so they didn't think I was ever going to wake up, all that stuff. Expediting, I guess, about 2 months. I gradually started to wake up and start breathing on my own and start functioning a little bit more as myself. I had short-term memory loss, but I was kind of coming back, and they said to my parents, okay, she's not going to die. She's not going to, A, B, C, D, but she's not going to move or feel below her injury level, which is T8, middle of my torso. And she's also going to have all these other, like, she's going to have a really slow right hand, and her eye might not open all the way and all this stuff. I'm kind of working, so the right hand and the eye is all good, but I'm trying to working to prove them wrong on the no feeling and no movement. So since my accident, I went to 2 weeks of the hospital. I went to California, worked out 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, came back and started crawling and wiggling my toes. Then I've been back there. I've been gotten stem cells in Dominican Republic. I've been working out, just my whole lifestyle changed. And I have a long list of things I can do. I can crawl. I graduated high school and college with a walker, like braces and a walker. And I have some feeling that's coming back. I am healing my body, very deliberate. And it's just the story of like not giving up and not accepting when people say you can't do something, and it's just kind of like leaving it there. The power of faith and community and believing in yourself is so strong, and your perspective, because I would have given up long ago if my parents and my community didn't give me hope and kind of support my dreams.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. That's something I've noticed as well working for Matia is the community is very strong around the world for people with any kind of walking disability, whatever the cause may be.
Once you're like in it and you're doing the sports and you're meeting the people and you're like changing your whole life, it's like it's something that I wouldn't change. If you gave me the opportunity, it's something I wouldn't change, because I've met so many cool people and like all these people that no one can really 100% relate to me because no one's body is exactly the same. But these people who like know, and they're so interesting and cool. They're normal people, but they have this very interesting edge to them, the disability, that's just like, we got something to talk about. And like the places you go and the adaptations you make are just so cool that I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Before we start talking about the tech, I would like to know, for someone, let's say they've recently gone through some kind of an accident, or they've been in a wheelchair their whole life and they're ready to make a change. And, maybe that has gotten them down, but now they're at that point that they're like, okay, I want to find people. What kind of suggestions would you make when it comes to finding a community like that, finding people to talk to, organizations, anything like that? How would you suggest people start?
So this was a trial and error for me. When I first got hurt, I was like, I got my people already, my friends, my family that were already there. I'm not interested in going into the disabled community. Like, I don't want my disability to be my identity. So I don't want to like join adaptive sports. I don't want to like, no, no, no. But then when I was in college, I decided that I wanted to join a gym. I wanted to join adaptive sports. I wanted to get into it. When I started hand cycling, I did my first marathon in 2011. And I kind of realized like, all right, these people are, I mean, I'm a hypocrite, but like they're normal people. They're just like doing sports. And like just because you're in a disabled group doesn't mean it has to be your identity, Kristen, calm down. So joining groups for me, that was sports because I'm a very athletic person, athletically minded person. So joining the community doesn't mean you have to be disability centered. You can still be you. You're just surrounded by people who are fun and more like you. So whether that's a sports community or a support group, a lot of people love support groups. Even like an online community, maybe that's a place to start if your area doesn't have something. But just kind of immerse yourself as much as you're comfortable. I encourage sports because it's such a crazy release, and it's so cool to be going from sitting in a wheelchair where people can look at you and they can put all this pity and, like for shame on you because you can't walk, like focusing on things you can't do. But then when you're adaptive fencing, which I did for a couple of years, adaptive fencing, people are watching you like, oh my gosh, how can she do this? Or I'm doing a marathon with a hand cycle. They're like, oh, I could never do that. Like, that's so cool. So looking at you as a point of like, that's really cool versus like, oh, sad, she can't walk. Just gave me so much power. So sports, if you want to, if you're not a sports person, just a support group is a thing, online
Yeah.
or in person.
So once you start living your day-to-day life, what are some of the biggest obstacles when it comes to being in a wheelchair? And when I say biggest, it could be large or just downright tedious.
Socially, no hesitation, socially, because I'm going from a 14-year-old on 3 competitive sports teams and just like more friends than I can count on 3 hands. And like just with all the friends and just surrounded, very outgoing was me. And then my accident happened, humbled me, lost a lot of friends, couldn't do the sports anymore, so I thought, and it just kind of, I'm trying to fit in through an already hard time in our lives, which you could say at any point of your life, like being an adult, it's a hard thing, but already hard time in my life. I'm trying to fit in, trying to be as similar to who I was before, but in a wheelchair. I'm trying to keep up with my friends who are, able-bodied and, beautiful. And I'm trying to do that in a wheelchair. I'm trying to like not miss a beat. And I'm also dealing with people looking at me different, treating me differently, treating more of like I said, an object of pity instead of like, it wasn't my concern at the time, but like, as I got older, like, I'm still a woman. Like, I'm still like an object of attraction. I'm still like worth your respect. And like, in dating, I wrote a whole book about dating in a wheelchair, but it's like, I'm still someone that you need to respect and like, don't, just like treat me like a person, not like it's like an interview for like a crazy disability is a lot of the dates. But I don't know. So just socially getting people to see me for who I am instead of like, oh, that girl with a disability, which I don't care if people label me as something like girl in the wheelchair. People scoot around that a lot. I'm like, it's fine. Like, I am a girl and I'm in a wheelchair. It's fine. But just like seeing me as treating me as a person before focusing on my disability so much.
Okay.
And at this point, I'm like, if you're gonna do the latter, just focusing on my disability and just treating me weird and not normally, then like, I don't need you in my life.
Absolutely. Very well said. Okay, then let's get into the tech. So we delivered that. I think it was in the summer because that was my first time in
Really
Virginia.
hot. Yeah.
And even though we were in the more mild part of Virginia, it was pretty warm.
Heart attack. Yep.
So you've had it for a few months. Tell us your initial thoughts.
So initial thought is, of course, this is so much fun, and I need to learn how to drive a little bit better because I'm banging into left and right. My husband was going crazy in the beginning. And also like I'm tall, like I'm a tall drink of water because of course it's on like a little platform, but it's just the difference of right now estimating 4.5 feet tall sitting in a wheelchair, but then I stand up and I'm like 6 feet tall, with the platform and stuff. But it's so crazy. And because my house was built, I built my house to be able to be fine with me in a wheelchair. Everything like the counters are a little bit lower and the cabinets I can reach, but to stand up I mean, you probably remember the first thing I did was go into the pantry and access my husband's chocolate stash that keeps way up high, because it's just like I can do anything. I told him the other day, like, you can't hide anything from me. Like Christmas presents, you better find something else because I can get everything now. So it's just a whole different perspective. And I can make that as dramatic as I can with my words, but like there's no way to describe how it's just like, I don't know, I'm like feet and feet taller. And it's just so cool to even like get in it and just spin around my house and just see everything from up high. I don't know, I don't know how to
Yeah.
say that more dramatically, but like it's just so cool. So I mean that's honestly what I do most of the time, because I just spin around my house. And it's been great for at a workout component. I'm trying to kind of make it more work for me, of course, a little bit more. So my core and my bone density, because it's very much a thing that if you sit down for too long in a wheelchair, then your bones will get weak. And then one day you might stand up and they'll just break. So it's really good. It's a good and fun and easy way to make my bones stronger and work on like my lightheadedness when I stand up, because that was a thing a little bit in the beginning, but now it's not anymore because I stand up often enough. So it's just like bam, 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 benefit, benefit. It's so much fun too.
That's great. That's really great. How often currently would you say that you use it?
Right now, I've slowed down a little bit because it kind of freaks my son out. So I only do it when he's sleeping 5 or 6 times a week. But when I first got it, I was like, again, I get down for 20 minutes and again. But I'm only because my son is walking now.
Hmm.
I'm only toning it down because my son is walking and like he gets in the way and I don't want to bump in. I don't want to like speed into him and he gets in the way. It's just a careful thing. So I'm just doing it while he's sleeping now. But especially once he gets more sturdy and not as curious, I guess, not as scared, not as curious, I'll be in it all the time
Yeah.
because it's so easy to do. I've gotten it down. It's a learning curve getting in and adjusting and everything, but I've gotten it down.
Yeah. Pretty smooth. What kind of areas do you find it easiest to transfer?
The couch or the bed. I
Okay.
usually do it to keep it in my room, and so I just pull up right there.
Very cool. Was there anything unexpected that it helped with once you started using it more frequently? Because, like you said, there's a lot of things that when you learn about the device, you know that it would help with bone density, sticking to with what so many doctors say about standing right, but not wanting to be in the standing frame, the things like that that the device helped with. Was there anything unexpected that made a big difference for you?
Yeah, so I was hopeful that I'd be able to like work on my core or like work some part of my upper mid body a little bit more. I was hopeful for that, but when I got up in it, I really saw that I had that strap that goes around my waist that I put on there just in case. And my husband was like, "Put the strap on," but if I loosen it or take it off, it is a great core workout. And I mean,
Yeah.
I do that and I try to like move around and move over to the side. So it's like obliques and it's abs and it's all that stuff, but it's really good for a core workout. If I kind of like push it, like loosen it a little bit and like give myself some more movement, then it's great. It's really great.
Yeah. No, that's great. I've seen that as well. It does make a big difference and it's pretty easy to adjust like that.
Mhm.
Very cool. Well, Kristen, do you have any other final thoughts on this or anything else that we've talked about?
You're gonna laugh, but I'm gonna say worth the money. But this is such a good solid thing to add to my life mentally. Kind of actualizing what I've been working so hard to get to, which is to stand and to walk. And it's so cool to like see myself standing up. It kind of like refreshes my dream, my passion to do this on my own, meaning like unassisted. Because I mean, I'm doing this now with the machine, but I could be one day I could be like walking on my own. I could be standing on my own. I could like at least have more stability. So it helps me. It helps me not only physically and everything we talked about, but it's kind of like actualizes like this is the dream. Like the dream is to get to this point, and like whether it's to be able to walk on my own or it's to be able to more confidently and ability to move around and be stronger and stuff. It's really cool for like helping me to visualize myself as a more able-bodied person.
Yeah, and we actually have, especially this year, our CEO and some of the team in the office have made massive strides when it comes to insurance coverage. We've seen as high
Really?
as like 96% from private insurance,
Seriously.
100% coverage from the VA. Yeah,
Wow,
we're making
that's
some
so
big
cool.
strides. They are working so hard. It's ridiculous,
That
but
is
it's
huge.
paying off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you for the work. That's great. I would love to
yeah,
see that. I would love to see more people do this, go in the city and like see people buzzing around with it.
absolutely. Us too. Before we end it, then, Kristen, where can people find you? Like we said, you're an author. You've got a couple of books out.
Cool. So I have a few places. KristenBio.com is my website where my books and my articles and my comics and all that stuff. On Instagram as Kristen Gupta. Curveball, last name's Gupta. Kristen Gupta is my Instagram. And then Greater Things Comics are my comics on Instagram that you can find.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. So again, thank you for talking to me, and I hope you have a good time.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks.